Yes, guys, welcome to another
That doesn't work.
episode.
That doesn't work. That just doesn't sound right. It's not Alex's voice, not my voice. Yes, guys. But go on.
You know what, guys? I am so stressed. I am so stressed. Without being able to have a host, I am not in the comfortable kind of department here. But yes, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Cannon Podcast. Uh, we are going to be talking preseason. The boys are coming back on Monday. It is time to start thinking of the new season. We've got potentially a really exciting signing in Calafiore coming, hopefully to join the boys really soon. Hopefully, we get breaking news surrounding that. But I want to talk preseason with you, Babs. I want to talk what the fans can expect going into this season and what we can look at preseason to find out. Because I think preseason it really does set up the backdrop for the season. I think no matter what, we've learned things in preseason about Mikel. He normally tries out new formations that we're going to see
Mm-hmm.
later in the season. We normally look at the team and see whether or not that they're up for it. I think everybody with the Copa America, the Euros, there's going to be a lot of returning players that haven't maybe had the same preseason levels. Is that going to lead to maybe a little bit of like non chemistry from people in terms of people coming back at different times? Do you expect a slow start to the Arsenal campaign and maybe campaigns in general?
Look, it's a possibility. But I will say one thing is, I believe we've already got four players remaining on tournaments, and that's Raya, Ramsdale, Saka, and Rice.
Mhm.
And so, look, a majority of our players now are able to go and have their rest. You've had Gabriel, Martinelli, and Magalhaes have their tournament of Brazil. They've been knocked out in I believe, the quarterfinals, and so they've got time to go and rest as well. But you're right, there will be a bit of a, we won't be in sync. Because the matter is that these players are on rest duty now, whereas Odegaard, Timber, White have already rested and they're already training with the club. So we are approaching pre-season, And if it does feel a bit weird, I don't know about you, but it's come around very fast, and it's definitely because of the Euros. In the last few years, it feels like football's just been non-stop. You've had the World Cup, you had the
Yeah.
season, then you had a break, and then you had the World Cup, and then it's just non-stop. And so the season starts in what? We got our first game. Is it Bournemouth? I think in America. I believe that's our first one. I ain't going to that one, but I am going to the one in Los Angeles against Man United, and so that should be fun there. But yeah, I feel like we could see. I think we'll win our first few games of the season. If I'm being honest, we have got a difficult start. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not fluid straight away. Like we saw maybe at the start of, was it 22-23, where we had,
Mhm.
there wasn't a Euros, that tournament. It was just a clean summer. We signed our players, everyone was fit and available, and we went straight into it. And so, yeah, I do expect that we're going to have a bit of a rigid start to the season, but wins, and that's what we need, because the start is going to be very important. We saw it last year. Those opening points of the season, even if it's in the first half, are important because against Man City, it will matter.
Yeah, mate. I mean, like, look, going into the first international break, you've got Wolves, Villa, Brighton, Tottenham City, Leicester, and Southampton. It's not an easy fixture list. I think Wolves, Villa, Brighton are some pretty tough mid-table sides, sides that are competing for the Champions League, and Villa, and I mean you got Tottenham and Man City, and so I think there's going to be a bit of pressure on Arsenal to make sure to deliver. I would actually argue that we're going to look back at the beginning part of the season and say this could have maybe decided the title. At least from an Arsenal perspective,
Yeah,
it's one of the
that is true.
more congested fixture schedules for us, right? Like I think if you start to look at every month, we have like one big game, and generally speaking, December, April are actually fairly good months for Arsenal. So in the most congested moments of the season, I think we actually have a pretty good fixture schedule. But to start, I think Arsenal have one of the tougher starts in the league, at
That's
least in
correct.
compared to City. So from your perspective, mate, like you look at it, you look at preseason, who do you think is going to be a stock rising and maybe a stock falling as we approach preseason?
I think the obvious stock rising is a player that I don't think his stock's fallen. It's just that we haven't seen him play. And I think I'm going is Yuri and Timber.
Hmm.
Because look, think about how excited Arsenal fans were last summer about him playing those games in preseason. I think he came off the bench against the MLS All Stars, started against Man United and against Barcelona. Fans got very excited about that. He's a new signing because we didn't see him play for all of last season basically, apart from
Yeah.
the first game. And so seeing him play, I think fans will realize how good a player he is again. I wouldn't be surprised if we got your shout because it starts to make more and more sense in midfield. Like maybe in game sometimes. If he started, it'd be even crazier. I think his stock will definitely rise. I hope one of the Emils or Reeses or Eddies can get themselves in it, especially Emil Smith Rowe, because I feel like he's got the caliber to become a starter again if he can show more urgency. And we did see it last season, last preseason. He had a game against I think he started against Barcelona, or maybe came off in the second half, and he was looking very good. So I hope one of those. But I think there'll be a youngster personally, and I hope it's either Miles, but I think it's going to be Ethan Wanyeri.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think from a youngster perspective, I mean, people don't know Miles, and everybody on the channel knows how much I love him. I think
Do you know Miles though?
I hope so. Yeah, I think he is somebody that I'll make the claim, if given the opportunity, and you just see him play, he's the type of player that jumps out at you. Like, he demands attention. He's a ball carrier, mate. Like, and he's
Mm-hmm.
exciting, and he's a physical carrier, and so from he's also a little bit more demanding and in your face about his play style
Mm-hmm.
than Ethan. Ethan,
Okay.
it's like you look at him and you say, okay, that boy's touched. You know you got a baller, right? You don't question that.
Yep.
But Ethan is a little bit more in the Martin Odegaard mold, where he can control the tempo of a game, and he has brilliant touches and moments, but he guides the tempo of kind of possession, right?
Mm-hmm.
Miles is a little bit more of, okay, I'm going to push the gas pedal and really accelerate here, and I'm going to commit players. I'm going to draw them, and I want the contact, and then I'm going to release. So he has a little bit more boisterousness about his play. I think if you, from a youngster perspective, if you give him the opportunity, he will do really well. Um, I think that it wouldn't surprise me if Cheeto Obi. I know there's been a lot of rumors about
Yeah.
whether or not
Yeah.
he signs. I think, and I've always said, I think that he's more likely to stay than he is to go. And I think he
Yeah.
does stay. He's going to be in preseason. I don't think that you're going to be looking at somebody seriously for the first team in that aspect, but I think people will finally get to see why the hype is what it is for such a really
Mm-hmm.
brilliant talent. But I think in terms of the first team, look, my boy Emil, I concur with you. I actually think that this is, I said it in the other pod. I've I think that Emil has a chance to really stake a claim. And you're looking at midfield, and with Declan Rice kind of coming in late, from a good Euros campaign, I think Thomas Partey, Martin Odegaard, and one other spot is gonna be open. Even if we buy a midfielder, I think at this point, at the beginning of the season, I really think Mikel's going to try to build a midfield balance that works. And whether that's Yuri and Timber, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
Timber inverting from fullback at this point, he's going to have to find an 11 that he trusts and is ready for the start of the season, because we can't afford it. So I think that there's an opportunity for one of the long lost midfield options to really stake a claim with a full
Yeah.
preseason. And
Mm-hmm.
I will end on this: a surprise player. I think Gabriel Jesus has a point to prove. I think that's another
Of course.
player that's fighting for his Arsenal career. And I think, uh, look, mate, he is not in the 11, and he needs to be in the 11 when you're talking about his wage and his
Mm-hmm.
importance. If he wants to save his Arsenal career and not have a repeat of Manchester City, he needs to have a barnstorming preseason. He needs to really jump out at the page and demand his spot in the 11 again. And I think that he's got a lot of motivation to be honest. So I think he could be a surprising stock rising of preseason.
Mhm. I think Jesus is a good shot because he's obviously had all the summer to recuperate, recover. He had no surgery as well, so we'll see how that works out for him. But we could see at the end of last season he was playing through pain. Reportedly,
Yeah.
he wasn't quite the player that we've seen, and so seeing him hopefully more free and more comfortable in his movements, we could see, like, ultimately, if we get the Gabriel Jesus of 22-23 at the start of it, that's a very good player, and it's a player you could say you can make it into the first 11. He can obviously have a massive impact off the bench as well. I was just to go back to the youngsters for a second though, having seen Lamine Yamal, at 16, right? It's still crazy. At 16, start the Euros, score goals or score a goal, and get to the final now. And even seeing the likes of was it Emery that plays for
Mm-hmm.
PSG, who's at 17, 16 as well. More and more players of that age that are so young breaking into top European sides, and now at the European stage for international tournament as well. Would you be surprised if maybe I guess a Ethan or a Miles were to break into this Arsenal team younger than expected? Because look, the age normally we're talking 19, 20. Bukayo came through, I believe, 18, 19 as well. Is it possible that we see, this influx of 16-year-olds coming into football, and we've got obviously quite a few talent ones as well?
I mean, this is the question of Mikel, though. I think more so than the talent,
Of
because if you're
course.
asking me, I mean, I rate the talent so highly that I think they're in that vein. I don't think that they're the same level. I think Lamine Yamal is a freak of nature. I think we're looking at a generational talent there. But you're right. Like I think Zayn Emery, at PSG, I look at the age of talent is getting lower. So if you're asking me in general, like, do you think talent can start to integrate into first team minutes sooner? Then I think yes. It's just, what does that transition look like for Mikel, who has historically been a seniority first coach and manager, right? He's always done that. Whether we're talking about wanting Eddie Nketiah way back when to start over Lacazette, when we're talking about seniority in general, Mikel has always favored that. So I have it more of a question of Mikel and is if he's able to grow with the team. Is he more willing, with greater success, to work in youngsters sooner? We just haven't seen it of yet. So if you're telling me, am I confident to do it? I'm not too sure,
Yeah.
and that's mainly because of Mikel's willingness to integrate. Whereas the talent, I think the talent is there. I don't think that we have an incredible academy of influx coming, but I mentioned Cheeto, Miles, Ethan. Those are the studs. I think Max Dowman. I hate putting out names,
14.
but at 14, and mate, we're making room for him. So we've got 3 or 4 that are coming through that are really, really top. I think there's so much to demand at 16, though, mate. Like they haven't gone
Of
through
course.
any kind of maturation yet. They haven't gone through
Yeah.
puberty. Like I feel uncomfortable. This is where I would like to end. I feel uncomfortable with the way football's going. I really think that these kids need protection, mate. They're 16, and the way that they are thrown into the spotlight, it's it's a difficult trial by fire. That's all I'll say. And I think that they can be exposed to a lot of really dangerous things. So I think it's our responsibility as fans not to. It's not to overhype them, but I mean at the same token, just
Be careful.
understand, be careful, like they're kids, and I think clubs have a huge responsibility as that age goes down to strike that balance, because we're dealing with children. Wait, Lamine Yamal has to get permission to travel in certain areas. Like he's
Yeah. Yeah.
like, and there was a point in Germany where I was reading, and I don't know how much this was true, but like I mean, laws stated because of his age about him being able to
You can't
play
work
after
after
a
a certain
certain.
time.
Yeah, like I mean, mate, it's ridiculous that we're talking about that, but mate, this is football. It's become so competitive, and the landscape has become such a marginal game that I think this is going to become more normal. And I'll be honest, I'm not happy about it. I actually worry about it. But I don't know how you feel. Is there a name that you could highlight beyond the Ethan that you look at, either in world football or with Arsenal, that you say, like, this could be somebody that I'm really looking forward to seeing this upcoming season? It could be Yamal as well, but is there a
Listen,
youngster?
Yamal's a player that, look, you need to go watch live if you can.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go watch him, and that's why if I do go to the final on Sunday, I'll be very excited to watch him, because that's a player that you can straight away, as you said, say generational. He's in that talent straight away. Because look, at 16, you're doing what you're doing. It is crazy. I think in 10 years' time, he's still going to be 26. 10
Prime.
years' time,
10 years, he'll
26.
be in his prime.
Do you know what I mean? We're not even near his prime right now, and so I hope the best for his career, by the way, because we've seen
Yeah.
young players come in the past and they've burst on the scene. Let's not forget, before Yamal, there was Ansu Fati,
Hmm.
and unfortunately for injuries, that hurt him as well. So I think nowadays the players that I look, maybe not as young as that. Maybe one player I'm excited to see next season, and it's annoying because he plays for a very annoying club. It's Kobe Minu,
Hmm.
and he's a player that when you watch him play, you're going, look, if only Mikel Arteta could get your hands on you.
Hmm.
Because I would do anything to see him play for Arsenal. I feel like he's such a profile that could work next. We've seen it obviously for England, but in Mikel's system, next to Declan Rice could be amazing. But he's a player that I think those are the players I look at and go, I'm very excited to watch you next season, because you play for clubs that are not Arsenal, but I just like watching you guys play football. And apart from that, there's probably a few other names, but I think those are the standouts for sure.
And for those, you're going to have to check out future pods. Look at the transitions, like he's been doing this. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us, guys. Make sure that you guys follow, all of the other pods that we're going to be doing. We're going to have a lot more content for you next week. And we just did a scouting video for Mikel Marino, so make sure that you guys pop off on Patreon. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial if you like it. Then you can stay. Otherwise, you don't have to, but we just did a scouting one, so check that out. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and we can't wait to catch you guys on future pods. So thank you very much for all of your support and your engagement, and we will be here after the Euros, after Copa, and guys, get
We will be
excited.
there. We will be there.
It is a new season, and I can't wait to start to talk Arsenal with everybody. So thank you so much, and make sure that you keep it up.
Oh, there's a pod. There's a pod as well. Before you just said it, there's a pod we've just done on Patreon and for YouTube members. 45 minutes talking all sorts of stuff. So check that out as well. But George, all yours.
Thank you so much for helping me out. As you can see, we're really struggling without Alex here in terms of the host. At least I am. I am.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Nah, it's the watery eyes, man. It's the watery eyes.
yes, exactly. Well, thank you guys so much, and we will catch you guys soon. And thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Peace.